Hello everybody. Today I'm going to answer a question from a viewer I got from the part 5 of Pinkie Upgrade 2024. In part 5 of Pinkie Upgrade 2024, I have received a comment asking, does the Supercap voltage drop require regular maintenance applied to the regular power supply that use regular capacitor? Because I was doing some trimming and voltage balancing on Supercap, this is the Pinkie that I'm going to show you later, to adjust the capacitor change over the year. And the answer of that is no. Regular power supply with regular capacitor does not have the issues. And that's the end of the video. Unless you want to stick around and listen to me and tell you why. What is the difference between them? So I am going to take the camera off from that tripod, put down the mic here. Bear with me. If you're seasick, that's easy. Close your eyes because it'll be shaky. Okay. I am back. Okay. Supercap. The difference between Supercap like this and the regular cap like this, physically about same size. And this is a 300 farad 3 volt capacitor. And this is a 35 volt 22,000 microfarad 35 volt capacitor. They're physically almost the same size. They cost double. This is like equal to a Costco pizza, pepperoni pizza. This is like half. But that's beside the point. The difference between a Supercap and a regular cap power supply is, in order to build a high voltage power supply with Supercap, we have to put them in series. Now, I don't have that many Supercap to show you how physically in series, so I'm going to put this aside. I'm just going to use all this brown cap as Supercap. Just imagine this one, each one is 3 volt, 100 farad. Easy to remember, easy to think about the math. Let's say we want to build a 30 volt power supply with 3 volt Supercap. Okay, never mind the capacitance. We concentrate on the voltage for now. We have to at least use 10 cap, right? That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's 10 cap. So each one, you're assuming they will drop 3 volt, but in reality they don't, because they have different capacitors. When you have different capacitor on each one, they drop differently. So some of them will actually have drop higher than 3 volts, some of them drop less than 3 volts. So, but even with a regular cap, if you want to build a 30 volt power supply, you don't want to put a 30 volt cap in there. You want to put a 35 volt cap to get some safety margin. 5 volts out of the 30 volt is plenty. In fact, 5% more than the voltage. The voltage rating is 5% more than the actual voltage. Is okay for electrolytic cap, as long as the voltage don't go over 100% of the capacitor rating. But in terms of safety margin for Supercap, I would like to go for at least 50%. In fact, more. But in this case, let's say 50%. Put this away. So I have 15 cap. So the voltage rating for all 15 cap together is 45 volt. You put 30 volt on it, you expect them to drop 2 volt each? No, it doesn't work that way, because the capacitance of Supercaps vary so much. They have specs from minus 20% to over plus 80%. So some of them I have a lot less capacitance than the other, so therefore the more capacitance of the cap, the less voltage it drops. It's an inverse proportion. So some of them might drop, let's say 2 volt, 2.1 volt. Some of them might drop 1.8 volt, And in the extreme case, some of them might drop 1.5 and the other might drop like close to 2.7. It depends on how many of the caps are in the low range and how many of the caps are in the high range. And some of them, sometimes when they combine together, it swings so far. Two ways to solve the problem. One way is to trim the capacitance like I do. Trimming the capacitance meaning like if this one drop voltage a lot more than the next one, you know this one have a lot less capacitance, so you add some capacitance into this to balance things out. Can you measure each cap before you put in there? Yeah, you can, but it requires specialized equipment for a supercap to measure it. But there's another way you can solve the problem, is to put wider safety margin. Instead of 15, let's put 18, 20, 30. Then you get 100% safety margin. But what's the downfall on that? It's cost. The more cap you put on there, you get a voltage safety margin, but you have divided capacitance 1 and 2 and 3 more times. I have done a video a few months ago explaining when you put capacitors together, when you put two capacitors together, is that each capacitance divided by 2. If you put 3 together, each capacitance divided by 3. 4 divided by 4. 5 divided by 5. So assuming this is a 100 farad capacitance, you put 2 together, you get a 6 volt rating, but you only have 50 farad. You get 9 volt rating, 33.3 farad. 12 volt rating, 25 farad. 15 volt rating, 20 farad. So in order to build back up to 100 farad, you gotta put 5 of this row together to build up 25. It's all about money. Safety margin, more money. So you have 5 of them divided by 5 and 15 volt rating. You put 10 volt in there, you get a 50% safety margin. But in order to build up back to 100 farad, you gotta have 5 of this row. The wider this way go, the more money it costs. That's the way to solve the problem in a more permanent way. And if you have read some of the technical spec, manufacturer actually claim they guarantee operation hour for 10,000 hours within the rated capacitance. And the rated capacitance is minus 20% to plus 80%. It's still a big range of capacitance to work with, to begin with. And they only guarantee 10,000 operation hour. If you have a piece of equipment to run 24/7, 10,000 hours is only about 14 months. In audiophile terms, solid state, you know how many people don't turn off the solid state equipment? And I don't blame them. You want the solid state to keep warm so it actually run in the optimum performance. So 14 months, is it enough? But you can't even warranty a 14 months product. Nobody. Some of them are 1 year, but do you really want to actually, after warranty, then things go wrong right away? No, you don't. You warranty to 1 year, you still want to run it for 2-3 years, unless you keep wanting to sell it for more boxes. I know companies do that too. Now, there are also, I know that one company, at least one, that actually asked the customer to send back the 150 pound power amps back to the factory every year to rebias it. Can we do that on Supercap? Like send the product back so I can trim the voltage every year. Personally, I don't want to do that either, because I'm a one-person company. I build a product, I want it to last forever. Forever figure of speech. 10 years, 15 years, if I have a little bit of minor issue, I can live with it. But 5 years, pushing the limit. So when I build something, especially the Supercap power supply, I will have to put a lot of safety margin in it to be comfortable to send out the door. At this point, I only build a few, because when I first started in 2008 playing with Supercap, I just don't think it's reliable enough. And after 16 years, they still have the same issue. They haven't changed anything. What they did change is they put more capacitance in a smaller can and higher voltage rating. Now they actually have lithium ion hybrid capacitor. No, it is not a hybrid. They are just lithium-ion battery in a capacitor package, because they're rated at 4 volt, same as lithium-ion battery. They cannot discharge lower than 2.5 volt. When was the capacitor the last time you actually know they cannot discharge for less than 2.5 volt? None. It's only lithium-ion battery. So you cannot treat the lithium-ion hybrid capacitor the same way as a regular supercap or even regular cap. So it's not a capacitor. It's a battery in a capacitor package. So I discount that at all. I'm not going to use that in production. I bought 10 of them to try it out, and then as soon as I find out how it behaves, man, done. I'm not touching it. So back to supercap. Supercap still have the issues of the capacitance changing over the year. Now capacitor changing on regular cap too, but that's a different issue. That doesn't have the same issue as supercap, because supercap you got to put them in series to have a voltage divider, and you got to maintain that voltage equally. Otherwise, some cap will actually go over the voltage rating. For regular cap, no problem. If you want to build a 30 volt power supply, you use a 35 volt. If you want to build a 45 volt power supply or 40 volt power supply, you use a 50 volt. Because regular caps comes in multiple voltage. The most popular voltage in North America are 6.3, 10, 16, 25, 35, 50, 63, 80, 100, 160, 250, and so on. They all go all the way up to about 1500 volt. So it depends on the voltage that you want to build the power supply. You can choose the suitable capacitor and then parallel them, not series now, parallel them to build up the capacitance. Well, somebody might ask, how come those vintage equipment require recap? That is a different story. That is not a voltage issue. That's a current issue. That's a current draw issue over the year, not a voltage. Because if the capacitor, if a capacitor being used or being pushed a lot, too much, the capability of supplying currents decrease. That means they cannot handle as much ripple current as when they were new. That's why you need to replace them. However, if a manufacturer, designer build power supply like I do, that parallel like 10 or 20, and I'm going to take the camera off now to show you one of my 10 farad power supply and how I built them. Bear with me again. Shaky, camera shaky. And I'm going to take the microphone with me this time. What you're seeing is a 10 farad power supply plus and minus 13.5 plus and minus 15 volt. The voltage, the capacitor voltage rating of the capacitor is actually 16 volts. I am comfortable to put 14 volt on it. So this is a 10 farad power supply. Each ones are parallel. They are not in series. If you follow the rod, they are all in parallel. They are not in series. That's a plus and minus rail. That's a ground. But each one of these are all parallel to build up the capacitance. But each one is 16 volt rating. I think you can see that. Can you see that? 16 volt upside down. Okay. So regular cap does not have the voltage drop issue that you gotta do a regular maintenance. But if you turn it around this way, it's the same thing. This is a SPF 15-2 T1 capacitor pack that have two output stage and input stage. They're all regular cap. The total capacitance is approximately 1.5 farad, but they're all in parallel with suitable voltage. So therefore, there is no issue of voltage drop over the year, even if the capacitance change. And I would not expect they would change that much, because parallel so many cap together. Let's say the SP cap pack stage, I'm paralleling 30 capacitors together. Each one doesn't work that hard. Over 20, 30, 40 years. If you use it responsible way, never abuse them, don't never put it in a humid and hot environment and leave it like over year, winter and cold, change it all the time. If you leave it indoor and use them, especially use them, because electrolytic capacitor like to have a little bit of voltage bias on it in order to keep their life long. If you actually put on a shelf, short the tap, and don't have voltage bias on it, they will not last as long, believe it or not. So if you use them regularly, almost like a car, if you use it every day, they will last longer. But if you let it sit, it will rust it out. So I am going to put down the microphone again and going to turn around and show you the Supercap capacitor, the Supercap power supply that I built for Pinkie. And I will measure the voltage and show you the difference of the voltage. Okay, you can see the meter. I have already trimmed the capacitors, so they kind of within range of the voltage rating of the cap, but it still vary quite a bit. So this one is 1.57. 1.95, 2.0, 1.97, 1.96, 1.86, 2.02, 1.7. So even after I trimmed them, they still have a fairly wide range of voltage, but it's still within the voltage of the Supercap. And I have used some 2.3 volt cap in this power supply, because back then 2.3 volt was one of the first voltage come out from Supercap in the early day. This is 2.3 volt 50 farad. The lower ones are 2.3 volt 220 farad. See the difference in size? This is just a couple years different. This is 2.3 volt 220 farad, and this is 2.3 volt 50 farad. The size is not that much different, but they are like four times more capacitance. And this year, 3 volt 2.7 volt 300 farad, and these are 2.3 volt 50 farad. So this Pinkie total capacitance, after I add on the the last batch of this gold cap, 2 rows, the one at the back there is 2 of them, 75 farad per row, 150 farad total. The capacitance should be 2630 farad. It will run for close to 24 hours without AC power. But is it really 2630 farad? I don't know. I don't have a equipment to measure it. Don't need to know right now. But I do know some of the capacitors are smaller than the other. So therefore, I need to trim them. I need to keep the voltage the same and trim them once in a while. So I hope I have answered the question of why the regular power supply does not need regular maintenance as the Supercap power supply does. And you will see some of my new power supply that use Supercap, but you will also see that has a lot of safety margin, and therefore probably not going to be as cheap as some of the other Supercap power supply that in the market. But I'm aiming for reliability. I don't want to just have flashy and work for great for a couple of years and then all kinds of trouble coming back. And you know, even if you pay me to actually repair it, it still takes time. And I would rather build some new stuff and upgrade the stuff you have instead of charging you to repair what it has. So I would prefer to build something more reliable, much more reliable than something that's only lasts for a couple of years. And so far, the regular cap have been lasting for more than 60 years, 70 years. Capacitor technology has improved a lot over the last 50 years. Physical size a lot smaller for the same amount of voltage and value. But am I comfortable to go all the way out for supercap? No. Heck no. No. Just no. I will be still using a lot of regular cap to build big power supply to a multi-farad power supply, but physically big. But then I can guarantee they last longer than supercap. That's the reason I'm going to still stick with it. And I know I probably have to repeat that reason for many times in the future. And still somebody will say, oh, well, so-and-so make a supercap power supply cheaper than yours. Well, okay, fine. 2 years from now, just don't tell me that you got to replace them. Anyway, that's the end of today's video, and hope you have a good day. Stay safe. Until later. I am putting back on the tripod. I always forget the microphone. This is actually take 2 because I forget to keep bringing my microphone. Anyway, until next time, stay safe. Bye.